Caregiver, have you ever felt like nothing? I mean, nothing is going right? Well, cheer up and welcome to Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program, where you'll learn how to avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout and how to survive the grief process. With roughly 100 million caregivers in the US and Canada alone, that's about a third of the population. That means that everyone probably knows someone caring for a loved one. Join Dave and his guests now and every Wednesday at noon Pacific Time as they discuss avoiding caregiver burnout and surviving grief. So find a comfortable place to relax, kick up your feet, prepare to feel better, and to receive practical tips and tools that you can start using immediately to get you through today and every day so you can survive your tomorrows. But not just survive, but to live life fully and abundantly. Yes, you heard me right. That is a possible goal to achieve. And now, here's your host, Dave Nasani.
Hey from Los Angeles, a big LA welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I am Dave with a little deeper voice than normally, the caregiver's caregiver. We are coming to you live. Actually, we're not coming to you live. Tomorrow we'll be live. But our platform is on the World Wide Web, Blog Talk Radio, as well as iTunes and YouTube, and many other platforms. Our goal here is to do our very best to help you avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout. And we have an exciting show planned for you today with my lovely co-host. Yes, it's not Adrienne Gruberg today. She's recovering from knee surgery. Poor Adrienne. Our prayers are with you. But it's Linda Byce, and we love when Linda's on because she is such an encouragement. She's amazing. She's the only other woman I know who's a combination Martha Stewart and Wonder Woman. Say hello, Linda.
Hi, everyone. And very tired, too, right?
Very tired. Okay. Try to speak a little louder. I don't know why your volume is a little lower than normal. But today we'll be interviewing Dr. Jan Mensink, a family practice physician with tens of thousands of hours of experience in emergency medicine and neurosurgery in Southern California and Central California. And in 2010, he made the decision to start a direct primary care practice to provide direct pay medical care in Bakersfield, California. Talk about ambitious. Since that time, Dr. Mensink has become one of the largest direct primary care practices in the nation. Is that unbelievable? If you know any doctors interested in becoming a franchise to help save the healthcare system from imploding, share this video with them. You will not want to miss this show. So I am Dave, the caregiver's caregiver, Dave Nasani, and this show is to caregivers of every single kind. And the one thing we know about caregivers is that they are caring and selfless and sacrificial souls, but they have this tiny little problem. They're very prone to burnout because they tend to put everyone else's needs above their own. And we can learn a lesson from the airlines who tell us that in the event of an emergency, put your own oxygen mask on first before you help your loved one with their mask. What an amazing metaphor for all of life. Take care of you first, not out of selfishness, but out of survival. Selfish is not a dirty word if you're a caregiver. Now, we also talk about grief and loss here, and the devastating effects it can have on us. Anytime we suffer a loss, we go through what's called the grief process. It could take days or weeks or years. My gosh, everyone is different. But if you find like it's been longer than you want and you're still in this grief process, then we can help you get through that grief. Because there's no shortcuts. You can't go, you just got to go through grief. You can't go around it, over it, under it. Got to go through it. Sorry. So hopefully we can help you through your grief and your loss if you feel like you're stuck. And I want to take this time to thank my last week's guest, Attorney Nancy Cavey, all about receiving disability income through Social Security and how to get your student loan eliminated if you're disabled. Great show. And just a reminder, you can listen to that interview and all of them, including the one today, on Caregivers, caregiver.com, on the uplifting interview tabs. And I'm so excited that sales of my new best-selling book, It's My Life Too, Reclaim Your Caregiver Sanity by Learning When to Say Yes and When to Say No, continue to soar. Charlene and I are still on our national media book tour, and my goal is appearing on national shows like Dr. Oz and Good Morning America, hoping to make the New York Times best-selling list. In fact, tomorrow we're headed to Hawaii to pitch for the 4 major networks there and to do our 4th book signing at Barnes & Noble. And I'm so sorry for all you people on the East Coast that are so cold right now with sub-freezing temperatures. But if it makes you feel any better, I'm scheduled to be in Washington, D.C. in February, so I'm probably going to be cold when I go there. But maybe I'll reschedule. Anyway, so far I've appeared on 60 morning shows all across the country since October 6th, and I'm booked on 8 more, including an internationally syndicated morning show, The Flash. So now that makes me an international caregiving awareness advocate, which I am humbled by all of that. That's just the grace of God, folks. All right, enough of that. A big welcome, and remember to put your phones on vibrate like I did it. So why don't you, where was I? Oh, a big welcome to my guest, Dr. Mensink. We met at Harvard when we were both speaking at the Business School's Entrepreneurs Club. Welcome to the show, Doctor, and I'm so excited to have you on.
Welcome, David.
Thank you. And why don't you take a minute or two and introduce yourself? I like to ask my guests, just who is Dr. Jan Mensink and why were you put on this earth?
Well, it's interesting. What is my reason for living? Probably I started out in medicine years ago. In fact, I started out, I had a religious awakening, a spiritual awakening in my life
Good
at
for you.
19, and decided what am I going to do with my life kind of thing. And to make a long story short, I'm not good enough or the right prescription for a preacher or a pastor or a rabbi. So I decided that I would go into medicine to, quotes, help people. And that was the original idea behind it. I did a family practice residency. I thought that would be the best chance of being able to help people. It was my first residency in Orlando, Florida, many years ago. And make a long story short, I was very disillusioned with practice. I practiced for 6 months. I got burned out in practice. I just couldn't see what was happening. It was a mess. And I spent years in emergency medicine. And then did neurosurgery residency. But I had a dream in my life, Dave, of how primary care should be done and how medicine should be done. And make a long story short, I got ready to turn 60, and I was doing neurosurgery at the time, and I decided I just got to do it. There's a point where you say, it's just got to do it to see if it's going to work.
Wow.
And I did it, and I started with what's called the practice in Bakersfield, California. And I give honor to God. The bottom line is that we, in probably the second sickest, the second fattest, the second poorest county in the state, we have become one of the largest direct payment care practices in the nation.
Wow.
And amazing things are happening. And probably the most important thing, Dave, is our mission statement. What does it mean for the practice? And our mission statement is very, very simple. It's cost-effective, quality care in a concierge environment for the common man. What does that mean? The average doctor sees about, to make any money in primary care, in Los Angeles County, it's 6.7 minutes of doctor contact time. In our county, it's a little bit better. It's 8.7 minutes of doctor-patient contact time. You can't do good medicine in that kind of an environment. And what I decided to do is I started out the practice. It's a direct payment care practice. And essentially, I keep about, we limit each doctor to 1,100 patients. The average doctor has a panel of between 2,500 and 4,500 patients. That's what he has to do to, keep his doors open and make money.
So
we did it a totally different way, a quarter to a half the patients. I've got time to do very, very good medicine. The average doctor sees maybe 15, 20 patients in the morning. I see 4, 5, 6. Totally different kind of practice. We're able to look at the root issues. We're able to deal with the root problems, and people get better, and people love it. And you said something very important earlier in your introduction. Caregivers have to look after themselves. Well, what we find is that most of our patients are looking after other responsibilities, and they're not looking after themselves. And when you get the ability to have a doctor that cares, a doctor that's able to spend time and do good medicine, amazing things happen for the patients. Amazing stuff.
And we forgot to mention, you're a caregiver also.
Yes, I have a wife that's disabled.
Join the club.
Yeah, it's been 15 years now.
So that gives you a certain amount of empathy and introspection that most doctors perhaps don't have.
Yes, I'm not sure I would have wished that, but on the other side of the coin, that's what we've done, and it's been good. Amazing things have happened out of that relationship and experience. It's not something I'd wish to anyone. The other side of the coin, it makes you more understanding, and it slows you down, and it makes you look at life in a different perspective.
Why don't you share with our caregivers what is the disability of your wife?
Well, my wife on her 55th birthday, she was cutting her birthday cake. Her hand fell on the cake,
Oh,
and she dissected one of her carotids.
oh my
Had no
gosh.
blood flow to the right side of her brain for 3 days, and it was bad. Just not bad, but very, very bad. Now, on the good side, amazing things have happened. God has been good to us. Medical care has been good, and I have a wife that's functional, and there's still issues,
Yeah,
but I have a wonderful wife.
yeah,
But it's been a hard process, and over the years, especially the initial years, it was tough getting used to that new role.
yeah. For those who just tune in and don't know who any of us are, I'm a caregiver because my wife at 50, how old was she? 52, had a
Wow.
stroke, devastating, left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on the right side. And she's functioning, still can't talk, but she can communicate with gestures and charades, two games I hate, by the way, but, Pictionary. But I'm learning to love, and she gets around through a mobility van with a lift and a power wheelchair. And Linda, why don't you share what your caregiving uh,
Yeah, when
is?
Christmas morning 2006, when my husband was 49, he went into cardiac arrest and was dead for an hour and 20 minutes before he was put on life support. He is still alive. This is 11 years. This past Christmas was 11 years now, and he's bedridden with severe brain damage. And I always say God took my husband and gave me a precious 6-foot baby boy. And then a year after that, our son was paralyzed from the waist down with acute transverse myelitis at the age of 14, which he is a miracle also because even after being told by two major hospitals that he would never walk again, he is now walking. Can't feel his legs or feet, but he is walking.
So you've been a caregiver for 11 years, had to put your
Yes.
modeling career on hold.
Yes.
But you still look great.
Thanks. But yeah, I'm
So,
about to turn 60 next year too. So this
wow,
year
well,
now.
we
So.
all look good, don't we? So, Doctor, did you mention what your medical practice mission statement is?
Yes, our practice mission statement is cost-effective quality care in a concierge environment for the common man. That's essentially
Did you
what,
did you send did you send President Trump that memo?
it's interesting. This is a year ago. Oh, not quite a little bit less than a year. I met with our local representatives,
Uh-huh.
and with Kevin McCarthy, who is head of the one of the big shots,
Yeah.
number two in the Congress. In fact, number four in line to be president. And I have a lot of respect for him. We shared our model idea of what's wrong with primary care and how this model would solve these problems. And I was very impressed. He spent about we spent about 22 minutes listening to our presentation, and then spent about 8 minutes with very deep, deep questions, and he got it. You know what I mean? What we're trying to do. He got it, and I was very impressed, seriously.
And how did you two meet? What were the circumstances?
With our
Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy,
Yeah.
I had some friends and some people that saw my vision statement, mission statement, and my dream that I did at Harvard Business School, who knew Kevin McCarthy and said, "Listen,
Oh,
you've got to." They arranged it for me. That's basically you got to get to talk to this guy, kind of thing. And that's really how it happened. It
yeah, that's
wasn't
one of the
me.
cool things about speaking at Harvard because I've met so many people there, and it was a great experience.
Well,
So,
it's something that just happens.
yeah,
It wasn't me that
God
worked
thing.
it out.
So what led you to start up a direct primary care medical practice? Did you mention that in your
Well,
opening?
Dave, what happened is as I said, I had this dream of how medicine should be done.
Yeah.
All right.
Like
And
Martin Luther King, you had
yeah,
the dream.
I had the dream, and I'd done well in life. I was practicing neurosurgery at the time, but I just couldn't let this dream go. All right. And then
Yeah,
finally, I turned 59. It was do it, and I've done well. I don't need to practice. I can, hang up my shingle, but I
that's
had this dream
awesome.
and I had to do it. And it
So,
has become so much good is happening. It is amazing.
it's
So
almost
much good.
like, I have a gas station in Castaic, and we get a lot of customers from Bakersfield. We're the like 75 miles. That's about how far a guy can drive before they
with a half a
need a
tank before he comes
restroom
to see
break
you.
or to stretch and stuff like that. And so we get everybody from Bakersfield. We have an espresso shop, and so they love our coffee. They love our clean restrooms, and I can always, no offense, but I can always tell who's from Bakersfield. They just have this look about them. And so I'll say, "Are you from Bakersfield?" He says, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I says, "No, I just knew." Anyway, there's so many jokes about Bakersfield being the armpit of the state and unflattering things like that. But how it's almost like Nazareth, right? Jesus was from Nazareth, and I guess Nazareth was kind of a lot like Bakersfield. He says, "Can any good come from Nazareth?" But how do you explain the amazing growth in a place like Bakersfield?
It's interesting because when we started, we did it on our own. We didn't know that about a year before we started, there was a few people had started these kind of practices. Didn't even know that they existed. We sort of started on our own and did our own method of doing it, kind of thing, which has become extremely successful. All right, we are one of the largest, probably definitely in the top 10 largest in the country. And we've done it in a county in our state that is, it's the second poorest, the second fattest, the second sickest, second highest number of type 2 diabetics. By the way, second highest number of alcoholics per capita in the nation.
I believe that.
But we're able to make it very, very successful. And one of the reasons we do that's made us successful, everything that we do in our practice is made to sort of force us to essentially offer more value and more service to our patients. See, Dave, the average office, the only way a doctor in primary care makes medicine or makes money today in medicine is by three ways. Number one, they can see more patients, push them through faster. Number two, do what's called playing the coding game. That's where you sort of fudge with the codes and look over your shoulder to make sure you don't get caught, all right? Or number three, do more procedures, all right? And bottom line, it's not good for the patient.
Right.
We instead said, listen, you're going to pay me $99 a month for unlimited access, Dave, to the office. You can come as often as you want. In fact, $79 a month, Tier 1, allows you to come as often as you want for free. Tier 2, which is $99. Most people join Tier 2. The vast majority do Tier 2. Everything I do in my office is free. I did an epidural this morning on a patient, free, included. You need to be cast, you need to be sutured. Everything is free. In fact, it includes 85% of most people's blood work. Everything we do is to try to make it more cost-effective quality care. Like this morning, I ordered some bioidentical testosterone pellets for a patient. In town, they charge $1,500 to do that, Dave. If they belong to Tier 2, we do it for free. We just charge them $200 for the pellets, what the cost of the pellets. Everything we do is to try to make it more cost-effective quality care in a concierge environment. We do a lot of bioidentical hormones, and we had a compounding pharmacy, a good compounding pharmacy that helped us for 3 years, but they got a little bit greedy, and the prices kept going up, and we had a very good price for compounding. We started off, it was $99 for 3 months supply. That's a good price. But the prices started going up, and pretty soon it was $45 a month for 1 month supply. And so we went around to 4 different compounding pharmacies in town, good pharmacies, and we started to negotiate. And we wanted a price point of about $25 a month for our patients, all right? And we had pharmacy after pharmacy, Dave, that just laughed. Oh, nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to make any money. You can't. You're crazy, kind of thing. But we went to the one of the pharmacy we picked, which is a very good compounding pharmacy. It's the only federally credentialed pharmacy in the county. And literally, we got the price, $25 a month for 4 months supply. That's unheard of. But what's happening is everything we do is to try to make it more value for our patients. And the idea is of the more value, Dave, you give to a medical practice, the more patients will come. All right? And that's what made it one of the largest in the country. And it's that idea of, instead of trying to push them through faster and try to play the coding game or do more procedures, the more value you add, the more patients will come. And the doctors will they'll do better than most specialists having a practice like ours and having fun doing it. seeing patients get better. And it's a win-win in every way.
Where did you get the model from? I mean, did you invent it? Did you copy somebody? What? 'Cause
No,
there's been some of these things been around since the 1940s, no?
well, there's been concierge practices, for the rich and famous kind of thing, people way up here kind of thing. Those have been around for years. But my idea was to make, that type of practice for the common man. All right, not for the rich and famous. We've got 3 concierge practices in town, and they're for the people, that got, they spend thousands and thousands of dollars every year for it. And I have nothing against that. But this is for the normal common man. And when we started, my idea was to change the face of medicine across this country for primary care. Today, Dave, primary care doctors are getting burned out. We have a terrible shortage of primary care doctors. Now, it's not really a shortage, and we'll get into that, what's happening. But what's happening for primary care doctors? These doctors at the probably about 50, 55, they're getting burned out. Just like, caregivers get burned out. And they're burned out for several reasons. Number one, they're on this treadmill. They're seeing 30, 40 patients a day to make any money. They can't do good medicine. They know that. What do they do? Your visit, if you got a 6.3-minute visit, what do? You order a test or a referral or a consult to cover your butt so you don't get sued. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's how long my little speech was at Harvard, just about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And it goes so fast.
Yeah, and you can't do good medicine. And so the doctors are burned out. So what we did is said, listen, we need to change the paradigm. First of all, this office that we have here, the practice in Bakersfield, California, think of it like an old-fashioned doctor's office from 50 years ago.
Like Father Knows Best.
Yeah, it's a totally different office. We do casting, suturing. We do more than most urgent cares do, literally, all right? That's all included for this $99 a month. The more value you can offer, the more patients will join. I don't make money on how many patients I see every day. I make money by how much value I can add for the patients and their patients' experience. The more money comes. I don't have a billing department, Dave. I every 2 o'clock in the morning, my patient's credit card gets dumped into my account. It's a totally different kind of practice. The average primary care doctor spends 2 hours a day just doing insurance coding and bookwork nonsense. All right, I don't have any of that. It's a
So
totally
you don't do
different
Medicare.
No, we don't accept any Medicare. No Medi-Cal.
It's
Now,
it's like you're self-insured.
That's right. Now, most of our patients have insurance, Dave.
Yeah.
52% of the practice patients have insurance, okay?
Like catastrophic insurance?
Well, no, the most common insurance that we have in our practice base is Kaiser, all right? Number 2 is Medicare. Number 3 is Medi-Cal. And number 4 is the Blues and Anthems and things like that. And a little bit of VA.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's take a short break, and then I'll come back. I got lots of questions I want to ask you, so don't go away.
Glad to do it.
Dave Nasani, the Caregiver's Caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too. Reclaim your caregiver sanity by learning when to say yes and when to say no. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. And he now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his incredible caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too. Reclaim your caregiver sanity by learning when to say yes and when to say no. Will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life, and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today, or buy one for your special caregiver. On sale everywhere, and at caregiverscaregiver.com.
And we're back with Dr. Jan Mensink and Linda Byce. So, Linda, what do you think about all this? Have you heard anything like this before?
I haven't, but I believe it's a very good idea. I believe that if this could get spread across the United States, just think of the difference in everyone's health. I mean, I'm amazed at what you have been able to do. And then, if we could just get the word out, this would be awesome.
Even to caregiver health. Sometimes caregivers don't want to go to the doctor because it's just too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
But in a situation like like Linda, doctor, she has, a disabled husband. I have a disabled wife. Would this replace something, or do you recommend that we get catastrophic care? Because obviously you can't take us into the
Sure,
hospital if we
sure,
suddenly
Dave.
came down with
What,
cancer or whatever, right? What do
here's
you
the
Just like
recommend?
the like
yeah,
the news I got
yeah.
in July.
Here's the bottom line, Dave. We for $99 a month, we look after 92% of most people's care. All right, it's not that expensive. In
Right.
fact, what I did when I went to
I'm paying
Congress,
11.50 a month, and I finally stopped it.
well,
And that's just me by myself. I got one more year to Medicare,
well,
and so I
you know
decided to go with something similar to what you're talking about.
when I went to Kevin McCarthy, here's what I said. Look, we spend $3 trillion, in fact, $3.5 trillion in this country for medical care. All right. Uh, what's happened is if we gave every man, woman, and child in this country the practice, all right, our model of the practice for $99 a month, it would cost $350 million to cover 92% of everybody's health care in this country.
Instead of 3 trillion.
3.5 trillion. Okay, now we're not covering everything, all right?
Right.
Uh,
Well, 90, what'd you say, 92%?
92%, all right?
That's a lot.
Number two is the second issue is that we have for our franchisees and our patients, actually, we have an insurance product that we partner with an insurance company to help our patients for that catastrophic, all right? And literally for businesses, for instance, we're saving the average business 32% over their insurance costs with better care, better access, with everything better, with lower costs. It's a win-win. The employee loves it. In fact, the average, many businesses, Dave, we can offer the practice, tier two, $99 a month, for the employee, the spouse, and all the kids. Kids are only $20 a month extra, plus a high
Family plan.
deductible. Yeah, plus a high deductible insurance plan, and literally save the company 32%. The businesses love it. We have businesses daily contacting us. How do we do this? In fact, we tell the business, especially if they're self-insured, you get us a doctor, we'll set up a practice franchisee, you will save 30% overnight. And it's amazing what's happening. The idea of cost-effective quality care in a concierge environment for the common man is growing.
I'm a businessman, and I would gladly offer my employees health coverage, but it's just outrageous. But
Well,
I could afford this.
businesses are getting killed, literally getting killed. I was talking to one of our prospective franchisees in the LA County area, and he was telling me, Jan, he said, listen, he said in his area, it's mostly heavy, big defense contractors and big employees, thousands of employees. He said every one of their employees this year has literally changed their insurance product where they have deductibles of $8,000 to $16,000. I have patients coming in saying, listen, it's no good. It's useless.
I have a medical card, but I can't use it.
I can't use it. Exactly. Whereas for $99 a month, I'm going to cover 92% of all your care covered for free. No,
MRIs? How does MRIs work?
I'll tell you a story, Dave. Let's say we again next average MRI is $1,500 to $3,500. All right, as you well know. But we negotiate again everything I can do to make a more cost-effective quality product for a patient, the better it is. So we negotiated with our local imaging contracts. In fact, every 2 years we negotiate our contract. We're coming up to renegotiating, I think, in this February. But if you're a patient of ours, you'll go to our imaging center that we've contracted with, and I'll tell you a story, a classic story that tells it what it's all about. I had a patient of mine, and he doesn't have good insurance. All right, he's got bad insurance, and he needs an MRI of his knee. We tell him to not even use his insurance. Okay, don't even go use your insurance. You just go use our practice discount and get your insurance, your MRI. And he doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to me. He goes and gives him his insurance card. He does the MRI of his knee. 2 weeks later, he gets a bill for his copay for $700. He is just, he's up in the air. What's worse, 6 weeks later, Dave, we got to repeat it. His idea is, oh, no, we're not going to spend another $700. I said, listen, you didn't do as I told you, all right? You're going to use our insurance, don't use your insurance, but use our discount for the practice. Don't even tell him you have insurance. He does. You know how much his MRI of his knee cost? $140. See, that's the power of the practice, all right? Everything is done to make it more cost-effective, quality care, and a conscious environment for the common man. It's a different way, a different model of doing medicine, all right? Instead of how can I bilk the insurance more and more, the patient more and more, exactly opposite.
So let's use a real life example. I just went to the doctor, and I could not use my card because they didn't take it. You know, nobody likes covered California, even if it's a Blue Cross plan.
Yeah.
So I says, okay, I'm a cash customer. Just give me all the discounts that you give the medical. So they charged me $350 for my visit. Now, what they did, I was in there for a couple of hours. Okay, so that's good. He took about 6 X-rays of my feet. My feet hurt; they're riddled with arthritis. So he did X-rays to see, you know, I have a broken ankle that didn't heal right from 3 years ago, and the other one just has a lot of arthritis in the joints. So he gave me 2 injections, 1 in each foot. And I got out of there for a 2-hour visit for 6 X-rays and 2 injections for $350. How would that work at your place?
Well, Dave, your X-rays for your foot and your ankle would be $21 a piece. All right. Number 2 is if you were tier 2 for $99 a month, your visit would be free. Your injections would be free. It's all covered.
So I would have gone out of there for roughly $21 times 5 is $105.
No, $21 per X-ray. I mean, per series of X-rays. So if you had a foot X-ray, that's 3 X-rays. Ankle X-ray, that's
so each foot is considered what?
$21 for each foot.
Okay, so I would have gone out of there for $42.
That's correct.
Instead of $350.
That's correct. And he was giving you a discount and probably charged the insurance. If you had insurance, would have charged probably triple that.
Oh, yeah, I see the thing. You know, it's amazing. I get these insurance things that says, you know, $7,000, Blue Cross discount, $6,500, you know, doctor gets a check for like, you know, $450, my responsibility, $50. But how do you go from $7,000 to $6,500? That's a discount, 99% discount?
It's called the coding game. And doctors in primary care, in all of medicine, make it or break it.
What a racket.
How you play it. It is how you play the coding game. All right.
Right up there with attorneys.
I don't worry about what I make has nothing to do with how I play the coding game, or if I code. We code, but it has nothing to do. My income has nothing to do with it. My income has to do.
And you guys can still make money.
Dave, if I won't tell you how much money I make, but listen, I work 4 days a week. I'm having fun practicing. There's nothing better to medicine than having time to do good medicine and see your patients get better. I'm having fun. I make more money than I did in neurosurgery. A doctor who does this our way will do better than most specialists in town and have fun doing it. You know, I had a representative from Texas that came up to talk to me about our model. And he says, Dr. Mensink, he said, you know, there's a major flaw in your model. You're trying to change the face of medicine across this country. There's this shortage of family practice doctors. And here's what I told him. Here's what I told him. I said, Dave, this is what I told him. There is not a shortage of family practice medicine in this country. We have a shortage of family practice medicine doctors who are paid well enough. You see, here's what happens when you go to medical school and you get out. You can go and if you're a family practice doctor, you'll make half what you will if you become a specialist. You've got all this debt and all this problems. What's everybody going to do? They're going to join and become a specialist. Our problem today is if we had family practice medicine doctors who had this kind of practice like we've got, they're going to make more than most specialists. Guess what? Within 3 or 5 years, everybody's going to want to go into primary care.
Wow.
It's a better lifestyle. It's not a problem of shortage of doctors. It's a shortage of doctors in primary care that are paid well enough to do it. And that's the real issue.
According to McCarthy, what are the odds that this will ever see its way to the federal government?
I don't know. There is a movement today. There is an association for direct primary care practices we belong to that is pushing for this kind of thing and for legislation. Probably the biggest thing that's happened within the last month, Dave, is with the new budget. Now the individual mandate is gone. Now, because up until now,
That's good, right?
for us, it's growing like wildfire, literally. All right, our insurance people that we partner with, they're getting. I talked to him a week ago, a little bit less than a week ago, and he says, Jan, he said, we're getting 20 calls a day from businesses wanting to see about this kind of practice, because now you don't have to double dip and double pay. So up until before that, you had to pay for the practice, $99 for tier 2, which would cover 92% of your care. Number 2, you had to buy your own insurance, so you're paying for that double. All right, that's gone now. And it's the feeling among the insurance people is that this type of practice is going to just mushroom across the country, and we're seeing that happen. The early signs of that already.
So, getting back to Linda and my situation with our disabled spouses, what did you say it would cost for like a supplement catastrophic plan?
Well,
and about pre-existing conditions too. I want to ask about that.
Well, first of all, the practice, we have no pre-existing conditions. All right, it doesn't matter how sick or how well you are. All right, literally, it doesn't matter. All right. Number 2 is the practice with an insurance product that we have partnered with an insurance broker to do. Literally, that will essentially what the best way to do it is to buy the practice tier 2, and the vast majority of people join tier 2. We have 3 tiers: tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. But the vast majority join tier 2. That covers 92% of your care for most people. Then you buy a high deductible insurance product. All right,
what do those run about?
They run
matter on your
from,
age and stuff?
$300 to $500 a month. Sometimes as low. You can get down to about $160 to $170, depending what
back
you do.
like in the old days.
Yes, it's a different
when
way
I was
of doing
paying
it.
$350 a month for a good plan, even though it was $5,000 deductible.
Well, the higher your deductible, what we really encourage, we want, Dave, our patients to have insurance. You know what I mean? But let's say you don't. Let's say you don't have insurance. All right. In fact, I had a patient this morning who is going to need gallbladder surgery. All right. We have this is amazing what's able to be done. In fact, let's say that this patient needs gallbladder surgery and he has no insurance. All right. Gallbladder surgery today costs $50,000 to $70,000. That's the going rate for it. All right. If you belong to the practice and you have no insurance, all right, our negotiated rate for your gallbladder surgery, for the surgeon's fee, the hospital, anesthesia, medicine, everything, all covered, is how much? $4,600, but cash up front. See, we've even negotiated these prices for these patients. In fact, if they go to our website, drmensink.com, we've opened this up across. We partnered with something called Hilora, which is doing this across the country. Yeah. You can save a fortune. Here's what's happening, Dave. Just to give you an idea, this is amazing what's happening, especially in businesses. This is happening. These let's say you've got 2,000 employees. They're self-insured. They can go to you go to our website for normal person, but you can go to these practices where they've got specialists involved for one fee, for cash, for everything. Let's say you have a $10,000 deductible. Let's say you need your gallbladder surgery. You go and you're going to pay $10,000 to do the regular way. These third-party administrators, TPAs, are coming to saying, listen, you'd like your gallbladder surgery? If you go to our surgery center site, where we are going to pay for everything, we'll pick you up in a limousine, we'll send you to the surgery site, take you home in your limousine, everything's all covered. We'll waive your deductible, your $10,000 deductible, and it's going to cost them $4,500, and the company's saving a fortune. The patient's saving a fortune. It's a win-win, and this is why this movement is growing.
Why is the company saving a fortune?
Because the company otherwise would have had to use the regular means and spent $50,000 to $70,000. Here they're picking up with a limousine and paying $4,500 for the whole same service. So it costs them $5,000 to $6,000. The patient doesn't pay the deductible. the company's insurance company is winning big time. That's what's making this movement grow, Dave, across the country. Go to our website, drmensink.com, and look on, I think it's the second page, if I remember right. And you will, and we opened this up, Dave, to everybody across the country, not only for us, our patients, because
So
the
where
value
would
is
I
so
go
great.
in LA? How many places can they go besides Bakersfield?
140 sites across the country.
Really? So how many
Wow.
in LA?
Most of them are in LA Basin. I don't know the number to that. I'm guessing probably about 30 or 40. But I don't.
Spread evenly around the county,
I don't even know
North
that.
County? Okay.
I don't know.
How would I find out? How would I look that
You
up?
go to our website,
Okay.
or you can go to Halora, which we partnered with that does this. But go to our website and essentially put in your information.
Uh-huh.
Let's say, Dave, that you need a hip replacement today.
Uh-huh.
All right. An average hip replacement is $85,000 to $160,000. All right. That's what it costs. Today, I can send you to Santa Monica to one of the top surgery groups, orthopedic groups in the LA Basin.
Yeah.
I can get your hip replacement surgery done at top center, cash, everything, including the prosthesis, everything for $25,000 cash up front.
And knee surgery? You got any prices on knee
I
surgery?
don't know that we have these all those things are included. I don't know that just
All right.
on top of my head, But that's
Amazing.
what this is what cash and direct payment care practices will do. This is why it's growing like
So instead of
wildfire.
paying the insurance company, you be disciplined and you put what you were paying them in a savings account, and in a year or two, you might have that amount of money.
That was the original idea of the old under Reagan, the medical savings accounts, the
Yeah.
MSAs. That was the
Last
whole
year,
original idea.
I spent over $12,000 in medical premiums. So if I didn't use a doctor for a whole year, I would have $12,000 to spend on a cash discount medical thing. Yeah,
Well,
in
that's
essence,
the whole.
pretty soon I'd be self-insured.
That was the idea behind the health savings accounts. All right. In
That
fact,
never
there's a
worked.
major push in Congress to make the health savings to have direct payment care practice it's covered or deductible for health savings accounts.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the cost savings that are around there. This is
Any
a new movement.
questions? Any questions going through your mind, Linda?
Not that I can think of. I'm just absolutely fascinated about this.
You look amazed, yes.
Well, yeah, it's amazing what's happening literally in the insurance market. This is a new idea, all right? It's a totally different focus, all right? The focus is so foreign to doctors. I mean, literally, our prospective franchisees, I mean, they're scared. No insurance? My goodness, what am I going to do? And
It's like the new Uber.
Yeah, their focus, everything in medicine, how I make more money, I push them through faster, I play the coding game, I do more procedures. Exactly the opposite. You make more money by offering more value and more service for a lower cost, and they will come. And it is amazing.
Doctor,
And the doctor will do better financially.
you are a breath of fresh air.
Oh, really?
Let's
Thank
take
you.
another break. Don't go away. We
Absolutely.
will be right back.
Anytime we suffer loss, we grieve. And a lot of people don't realize what even the grief process is. But it could be 5 to 7 steps ranging from denial. I don't believe this is happening. Anger. Oh my gosh, I'm so upset this is happening. To a form of bargaining. How can I get out of this? To depression, which is a very serious thing because that often leads to suicide. And then finally, after you realize you have no more control over your situation and you're totally okay with the new normal that it brings, that wonderful, wonderful place called acceptance.
Being a caregiver takes a special person with passion and compassion. But even you can become a little burned out from time to time. The Caregiver's Caregiver radio show was developed to help you overcome obstacles, adversity, and burnout, as well as just having a place to rest, relax, and recharge your batteries. We've all been there, and you're not alone. Now, you can take the Caregiver's Caregiver with you. Get the top 25 radio shows in convenient form. that plugs right into your USB car stereo or computer. Learn the techniques, tips, and encouragement we all need to better handle the day-to-day challenges. For around $1 per show, just $29.77. Get the credit card-sized USB card to have with you anytime you need a caregiver's pick-me-up. Just go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com and order yours today. Go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com now. Consider it an investment in you, and ultimately, an investment in them.
And we're back with Dr. Jan Mensink and Linda Byce. And I had a question, and I forgot what it was, but that's okay. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what it is. I know Bakersfield is a small town. So is Castaic. So when I go to Ralph's or the supermarket, I'm always running into someone at my church or someone I know. It's rare that I go to the supermarket, no matter how short a time I'm there, and not run into a personal friend or somebody. I wonder how many doctors would recognize their patients at the supermarket if they saw them, right?
Well, Dave, probably the biggest issue, and probably what makes this so fulfilling for doctors, all right, is like when you don't have to push them through real fast, and you get to know your patients, you get to know what their issues are, and look at these root issues. Amazing things happen. I mean, literally, we have a large amount of type 2 diabetics. For instance, 79% of our patients lose weight if they're compliant. Most are, by the way, because they've got skin in the game. We have a phenomenal diabetic program. But what happens when you get invested as a physician in your patients' lives, number one, the amount of caring goes up, all right? Number two, the patients love you because they can't find care like this anywhere, all right? Number three, in fact, I had a patient this morning that came in, and she's been with me for just about since I started, probably almost, I've been going about 6 years, a little over 6 years. She was one of my first patients. And
you obviously would recognize her at the supermarket.
Oh yes, most definitely. But when you're able to, physicians are able to build this bond with their patients, and it's very rewarding. These patients become very compliant. Number two,
they become a friend.
Yes, they become a friend to help.
You know what they're going through.
Number three, they know that they've got somebody there. I'll give you another example. I had a patient this morning that came to see me, and he had issues. All right, because I don't see that many patients. All right, this is a totally different kind of office. We don't even have a TV in our waiting room, kind of thing. It's a totally different kind of office. But and so we have a very liberal, open walk-in policy. You've got a problem, you come in and see me. We'll work.
You're like the ER.
Yeah, we'll work you in. All right. Well, you know what happens? I've been doing this for 6 years, and for every day for 6 years, except for 6 weeks, I've taken call every day myself. All right. Most doctors, for call.
You answer the phone? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem, Dave. The average primary care doctor goes, "Oh my gosh, I go nuts." All right. You know how many times in 6 years I've been called after 10 at night by my patients? 4 times. I get called once or twice a month, if that, because they know tomorrow they can come in and be seen if they got in trouble.
Huh.
It takes a totally different way of looking at a call. Number two, you see, when I've got time as a physician to look after the root issues, they don't get sick as easy. All right? All of a sudden, you're looking after all these things in their health that other doctors don't have time to do.
Would you call yourself holistic?
Well, I don't know if that's the right description for it. There is definitely, people have called me a holistic doctor, but I'm not a naturopath or anything like that. I'm a regular primary care doctor. But I've got time, Dave, to look after the root issues in people's lives. And literally amazing things happen. I tell patients, and I'm not perfect by any means, but I tell patients to come to see me. And this is because I've got, I see 4 to 6 patients in the morning kind of thing. I've got time to do this. The average doctor can't do this. I tell my patients, you give me 11 months, do everything I tell you to do. Don't cut any corners. I'll make you a new man or woman. Now, I'm not perfect. I win about 85% of the time. But it's because I've got time to look after those things
Yeah.
that most doctors don't have time to. And amazing things happen. And when you do that, your patients love you. It becomes very rewarding to do. Financially, the doctors do extremely well. It will revolutionize the way medicine is done across this country. And that's my dream.
I'm just amazed. So what experience in your life do you think that has changed you the most?
Wow. It's probably the most important thing. In fact, if you go on our website, drmensink.com, and there's a video called Mercy for Me, Mercy for You. That's probably what changed me most, all right? But what, in essence, what it is has to do with, it's a spiritual concept. You see, Dave, you and I come to God and we say, listen, we're sinners. I want to settle out of court. I don't want the judgment of God as hell, and I'm going to burn for my sins. All right, I want to settle out of court. I want to have Jesus Christ's blood cover my sins. I want to get off scot-free. And God says, great. But he says something very interesting, Dave, which all of us, and I got in trouble with. He says, listen, I'm glad to give you mercy, but you have to show mercy to the next guy. See, it's mercy for me, mercy for you. But we all go to God and say, I want mercy for me, but I want condemnation and judgment and justice for that next guy out there, especially close to us. And that was probably the biggest revelation of what I had to change in my perspective. And it was hard. I'm not proud of it. I had to learn hard lessons in my life, but that changed my life the most. And that has a lot to do with our way we deal with our patients too. I no longer judge or condemn people. That's not my job.
So what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, wow. I said this at my Harvard talk. I don't need to do what I'm doing. I've done well in life. I can pack it up. But I have this vision. And I would love, Dave, when I'm 99, I would love to have it said of me at my memorial service, this man changed the paradigm of medicine for primary care medicine for millions of patients across this country and thousands of doctors.
Amen.
What better thing could happen to it to change the paradigm of primary care across this country for thousands of doctors and millions of patients? It's amazing what can happen. Literally.
Well, anything to say, Linda?
I was about to say, I believe that will happen.
Well, thank you. I sure hope.
Yeah,
hope
we
it
agree
will.
with that proclamation.
Yes, it's amazing things are happening, Dave. Amazing things.
Now, you keep mentioning your website. Is that the best way that someone can reach you if they want to contact you or join or ask questions? Or
drmensink.com, drmensink.com. They can also call our office and prospective franchisees. We have the practice clinics.com. For doctors, it's amazing the interest that's being generated right now because doctors are tired and burned out. It's just amazing what's happening. Literally.
I never thought about it. I know caregivers are burned out, but I guess doctors would be.
By the time a doctor is 40, 45, 50,
or they hate
55,
their job.
Yeah, they're burned out. They've had it. And this is.
I don't want him looking after me.
Yeah, you don't want a burned out doctor, but doctors get burned out too. Literally.
So what's the phone number at your office?
661-822. No, actually, 661-871-3300.
661-3300.
Yes.
3300.
Yes, I just about gave you my home number. It would have been very good.
You probably have given many people your home number.
Oh, my gosh.
So, last question. Do you make house calls?
No, we don't. We initially looked at that.
Never made an exception, huh?
No. Well, that's not true. That is not true. There's a few that we do. But no, Dave, in fact, we initially looked at that. But to offer that finding, and a lot of the concierge doctors do that, I'd have to increase the price overall so much.
Well, maybe you need a tier 4.
Well, we've looked at that actually. It's interesting. We looked. I've thought about that, but we're not ready for that quite yet. But it's something we looked at. To add that kind of benefit, the cost just goes way, way up, and it becomes
Yeah,
more difficult for us.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that doctors used to do that.
Oh, yes. Literally.
On that
Literally.
show, Father
Seriously.
Knows Best, he made it like
Yep.
every time the show was
Yes.
on, like I got to go, so and so's sick, and take his little bag with him.
Yeah.
So, Linda, how does someone get a hold of you to learn more about what it is you do?
We have a website. It's www.bycefamily, that's B-Y-C-E family.weebly, W-E-E-B as in boy, L-Y.com. The Byce
And
is, yep.
and what do you do for those who don't know?
Well, number one,
Besides
take care of
care for your
take care of my
husband,
husband 24/7.
but you've been a great encouragement to other caregivers.
Yeah,
You don't
my
talk much
heart,
about that.
yeah, my heart is to teach other caregivers and to help other caregivers and to improve the lives of other caregivers and to get families and friends and churches involved in looking around and helping and taking an interest in helping other caregivers and the
Yes.
patients that they take care of. I always, my heart is for those who fall through the cracks. This happens. When this happens to a family, everybody's coming to see you and they want to help and everything. And then weeks pass, and guess what? Everybody goes on with their lives and they forget that caregiver is still living through that nightmare. So, yeah, I
You're
want
a
to
great
open people's
encouragement to
minds and
me.
hearts.
You're very open on what you go through on a daily basis on social media. I mean, some of the stuff you post, I says, "Oh my God, really?" It's like,
Yeah,
and
see, that's the
that's
thing
very
I want.
healthy
Yeah,
because you don't keep it in. You just let it all
yeah.
out, and you say, "Hey, I need some prayer. This is what's happening
People
today."
don't have they don't have a clue of what caregivers live through, and I
But
want people to know.
but I know what you go through, and for you to look as great as you look, what do you attribute that to? Because you
Thank you.
just look like, you're queen for a day, or queen for a week, or queen for a month. And I know you go
Everybody.
through hell a lot of times, and some of the days you'd like to just erase from the calendar.
Yeah. People ask me this all the time, and I'm always going, "It's not me, it's God. If it was me, I'd be crumbled up in a corner somewhere, going, I don't want to play this game anymore. Can we play something else?"
Um,
But yeah, it's all God.
any
That's
struggles
the
you're going
only
through
thing I
right
can.
now that those who pray can be praying for you and praying with you?
Of course, the brain tumor I was diagnosed with in July,
Mm-hmm.
and which that is already a miracle because first they thought it was two brain tumors, and then they decided that one is a cyst on the back of my brain, but the other one is a brain tumor at the front part of my brain.
One
It's a
brain tumor
miracle.
is better than two, right,
Yeah,
doctor?
that's true.
Yes. Very definitely.
None is even better, right? But
You know,
it's
So what do you
these,
recommend for someone who has a brain tumor, doctor?
well, Dave, we serve a big God, all right, who is able to look after these things. There is some of these things there is no magic, but I've been round a lot enough to have seen miracles happen, and I still believe in miracles happening. And that's what faith is all about. Literally being willing to trust in spite of there is no hope kind of thing. And that's God says we're saved by that. Literally.
Yeah,
see, I don't
I
even
don't know
worry about it.
if
I
I
don't
would
even
trust
worry
a
about
doctor who doesn't. I mean, after all, they're called practicing physicians, and he's called the great physician. So I mean, duh.
it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, thank you both for being on the show, and I thank you to my audience for coming on, and we will see you again next week. So don't miss out. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio show. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at noon Pacific time and anytime afterwards on podcast to catch more of Dave and his tips to caregivers on avoiding burnout and surviving the grief process right here on the Worldwide Block Talk Radio Network. Goodbye.
Dave, I just one comment that I wanted to add in retrospect, but I want to honor what you and Linda are doing because the needs are so great. And to me, it's a breath of fresh air when I see this kind of emphasis. And thank you.
Well, it's a mutual admiration society. You are a breath of fresh air, and thank you again.